Welcome to the CEN show, a platform where we learn from the world community. I am your host, Rasaki Maskani, and on our panel this evening, we have Professor Amin Ra, we have Sophia, and we have Brother Mashinda. Our guest for this evening is Dr. Enqi Real. What I know about him is he's a naturopathic doctor, and he's an author of many books. Those are the two things that jump out at me. And also, I had a conversation with him, and he's also a good, generous brother with his time because he's very busy with putting out information that's going to help us in our healing processes when we're looking for ways to change our health. So I appreciate you, Dr. Enqi, for coming on again. This is his second visit. And hey, we just gonna, the topic is melanin concentrating hormone. And I really want to hear what you have to say about that. So welcome back, and let's get going here.
All right. Thank you for having me. I guess the story with melanin concentrating hormone starts with diabetes and our mission to put a dent in the global epidemic of here we go. Fix my sound. The global epidemic of type 2 diabetes, especially since when I say this in most places, they say it sounds like a conspiracy theory, but the numbers say otherwise. You know, we had this big kick from Joe Biden, when he was campaigning, he basically was, he came, I mean, he was as blunt as you could be and say, if you're not voting for him, you're not Black. And, he gets elected, gets in office, and then he jumps out and says, he's going to be, all along he's hinting around at this diabetes campaign, and, he's kind of intertwining it with Black conversation. So it led people in the space to believe that Biden was going to put some money, some time, dedicate some research effort or something to that extent in terms of fighting the type 2 diabetes epidemic. And he did, and he got, he got in his space and he did his lecture, and he said, yeah, we're gonna prioritize type 1 diabetes and blah, 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 blah. It's like everything after he said type 1 diabetes kind of just phased out because, the majority of your diabetes case, that's a small percentage of diabetes cases are type 1 diabetes. But type 1 diabetes is a huge problem in the white community, right? So, it just kind of was a reminder we got to do for self. Nobody's going to take care of our problems for us. And in, doing the research, most people were and are still under the impression that if they are somehow able to get out in front of insulin, that they can somehow get the diabetes under control. And, that's largely not the case, number one. Number two, there is no system of education for diabetics, especially type 2 diabetics. Like, there is no information anywhere for them to read up on it, for them to get an idea of what's going on with them biochemically, like what's happening inside their body. They pretty much just go year to year increasing their medication. You know, they go from pre-diabetes and, you know, metformin and maybe a statin drug for their cholesterol, you know, and they just move from there on to, you know, stronger, larger, higher dose medication until they are processed for, you know, amputation. And then at the amputation stage, they know the person on average has 5 years to live. And, you know, it's just kind of like a money process until they're out the door. Right. So we wanted to, you know, tackle the issue, get to the bottom of it, provide education for the masses. And, you know, we've been able to uncover a lot of nuanced information that ties in with the fact that, you know, the darker you are, seemingly, the higher your risk factor for type 2 diabetes. Right. And so, melanin concentrating hormone is at the top of the top of the pyramid, the top of the biochemical, or even, you know, top of the neurochemical cascade that, you know, we need to focus on, and people need to get education surrounding melanin concentrating hormone, you know, as opposed to, you know, some of the flimsy pamphlets that I've seen for diabetics, where basically they give you, you know, a glossing over of the food glycemic index, which doesn't really offer much help because it doesn't really speak to the problem of respiration, energy production, and, like I said, hormone control with you know, the hormones that matter. So that's our thing with my melanin concentrated hormone. That's the hormone that regulates sleep patterns, regulates sex drive, and more importantly, regulates appetite. Not only does it regulate appetite, but through regulating appetite, it regulates autophagy, which, if you listen to a lot of the big, you know, health platforms, they talk about autophagy a lot, you know, autophagy this and autophagy that, and, you know, fast for 2 days, fast for 3 days, intermittent fasting, and all of these different ways and nutrients and just different pathways to stimulate autophagy. And, you know, I just grow so frustrated with the BS, especially with the fact that, you know, we don't really understand that we're being, like, it's like, I have a pet peeve, like when people talk around you, like you're not standing right there. And when certain conversations are happening in the science space or in the health space, it's like they're talking around us like we don't exist, like we're not standing right there in the room. So for the people that are watching that don't exactly understand what I'm saying, if a person is having a conversation about autophagy and they don't mention melanin concentrating hormone, they're either they fit into one of two categories. Either they don't fully understand what they're talking about and they're just repeating something they heard from somewhere else, or they're withholding pertinent information, right? Because it's melanin concentrating hormone that initiates autophagy. And so that becomes a crucial piece to the puzzle. That becomes a crucial piece to the puzzle that, when you start to put these things together, because when you ask scientists or you ask doctors or you try to get an understanding, if you will, on why it is that Black folks seem to be at a higher risk for type 2 diabetes, they say, oh, it's in the family, right? And, one of my favorite movies was Ray. I love that movie with Jamie Foxx. And, so one of the lines that stuck in my mind from that movie was scratch a lie, find a thief. So when you ask specifically, like, okay, well, if it runs in the family, if type 2 diabetes runs in the family, what are the genes? What are the genes that are being either switched on, switched off? Maybe there's a methyl group that's being added to silent, like where are the genes that are being passed down for this? There's no answer because there are no genes. It's just people not really understanding, how their body works. And so if you don't, we also, we put the cart before the horse, because if we don't really spend time to figure out how our body works, it's not really possible for us to say that we're eating healthy. Like, oh, I'm eating healthy. Okay, well, what are you eating? Oh, I'm eating chicken breast, so I'm eating this, so I'm eating that, or, I'm eating vegan, I'm vegan, so, I'm eating good. And like, what is that? Those are general, like,
Points.
if we don't know how our body works, we don't really know what we put in it.
What?
We're just kind of like the blind being led by the blind in this situation, so these are things that we have to understand, because if the only thing that we know factually
Autophagy or something.
is that Black people have a higher risk factor for type 2 diabetes, then on a surface level, the only thing that separates us from everything else is pigment.
What was that word you just said? Or orthopatry?
Autophagy.
Autophagy. What does that mean?
Okay, great. That was a great question. Okay. See, I knew, yeah, I knew we had to open it up. All right, so great. So autophagy is basically the process that your body goes to it's like the healing process, and you're supposed to get some degree of autophagy in every night, typically like when you get into REM sleep. But based on our eating patterns, because we don't really have a clear digestive system, and a lot of us don't get into deep sleep, a lot of people don't even dream anymore. And we don't even think of things like that as serious problems. The fact that people go months and months and months without having a dream. If I even close my eyes for a few minutes, I drift off into a dream. Like, I have vivid, lucid dreams. People need to make sure that all those little things are intact, because once those little things stop, those are signs, right? But on average, each one of your body's cells is responsible for producing 5 to 10,000 different proteins. And this is a constant grind for your body to kick these things out, whether these are messenger proteins, transporter proteins, enzymes, hormones, whatever the case may be, right? Pigments. Your cells have to constantly produce proteins, right? Think about the time period. We only have 24 hours in a day. So having to produce 5 to 10,000 proteins repetitively, you don't have the time to worry about mistakes, right? So what happens is, if a cell makes a mistake, if there's a amino acid out of place, or somehow there's misfolding of a protein, it kind of just gets pushed to the side, and your cell just makes another one in its place, right? It's kind of like the way big clothing companies produce clothes, And if they make a mistake, they don't stop the assembly line to figure out what happened with that shirt, that the stitching was, they just keep going. And later on, they'll send those mistake clothes to TJ Maxx or Marshalls, so that they may not get the retail value that they would if the shirt was perfect, but they still kind of turn the mistakes into a resource where they get money back off of them by selling them at a discount. Your cells do that when your body's at rest. When your body goes into deep sleep, the process of autophagy, you have specific enzymes that break down all these spent, denatured, misfolded, all of these proteins, or maybe just worn out, proteins, and breaks them back down to monomers, the original amino acids that they were composed of, so that your body can reuse them, right? But not only is it efficient so that your body can reuse them, but when you have a bunch of misfolded proteins in the cell, that can lead to tumor, cancer, metabolic disease, brain disease. It can lead to just a wide variety of diseases. So this is a natural process that's supposed to kind of always happen. Like every night, we're supposed to get some degree of autophagy, right? Now, when you fast, your body, obviously, naturally, your body gets hungry, right? Because your body's like, okay, we're fasting. So there's a point where you stop eating and you're cool. Once your body runs through the circulating, sugars and maybe glycogen stores or whatever, your body starts to basically press you for some more food. It needs some more energy. So it's letting you know, hey, we hungry. We getting ready to start, going into some of these stashes, where you got maybe intramyocellular lipids or, like glycogen or, even fats or whatever the case may be for energy. The longer you don't eat, the hungrier you get. That hunger signal from your brain is melanin concentrating hormone. That's the hormone that is basically creating the hunger that you're feeling. And the longer you refrain from eating, the more melanin concentrating hormone your body produces. And when the melanin concentrating hormone reaches a certain threshold, your body just decides, okay, this nigga done lost his mind. He's not going to eat. So we're just going to start to recycle. The body's going to start to recycle. So it's going to start sweeping through and breaking down excess proteins, fats, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a cleansing process because your body is getting rid of stuff that's been floating around. It's like spring cleaning. It's like a form of spring cleaning that happens in your house. It's like a deep spring cleaning. The longer you go. Now, if you go too long into it, obviously your body's going to start missing out on key nutrients that you need for optimum function. But, if you can create the space for autophagy, like we have a program where we kind of tell folks to, eat for 7 hours, try to fast for 13 hours every day, right? Try to fast for 13 hours every day. And then try to get a minimum amount of exercise in, because exercise speeds up the process at which autophagy kicks in. So we have some little cheat codes that we use to make the process more efficient, and then when you keep your vitamin D and your vitamin K levels up, right? Not like through the roof, but just when you keep them adequate or maybe just a little bit above what they should be, those are both sunshine vitamins, both of them. They're sunshine vitamins. So they signal your body that you're in the summertime. And your body has a summer mode and a winter mode. In a winter mode, your body kind of likes to have, heavier meals. And I mean, these are certain things that just kind of like subconscious, but if your body will talk to you. In the summertime, you don't really want to have a whole bunch of the same type of, like, you're not really trying to do the mac and cheese with it's too hot and too heavy. You know what I'm saying? I mean, now we kind of live in a synthetic 70-degree kind of environment. So, we can practice unhealthy habits all year round, but in tune with the seasons, when it's warmer, we eat more lighter meals. And that signals your body to build more muscle and burn more fat. So by keeping your vitamin D levels up, keeping your vitamin K levels up, that's actually something that'll keep the fat to a minimum, right? And so all of those things kind of work in conjunction with one another as, your metabolism, and the more efficient your metabolism runs, pretty much that's the counterbalance to what we know of as diabetes or metabolic syndrome.
All right, I wanted to get to Professor Amin-Ra. Thanks for that information. That made some sense to me. And I think I was reading some of that today. So that's I read a few things in your book, and I'm gonna get to a couple of them later. I want to get everybody else involved. Professor Ra?
Appreciate what you said, if I understand it correctly. Dr. What is it?
Dr. Enqi.
Enqi.
Dr. Enqi. And we appreciate you being on the program and providing the information that you're providing. Just a couple of questions. What role does the pineal gland play in producing melanin? Or is that other professionals in melanin that talk about melanin, Dr. Richard King specifically, who wrote one of the first books on melanin? He talked about the pineal gland. And because you were saying that the body will regenerate it if you fast and go to sleep, the concentrated part. But have you ever heard of the concept of the pineal gland?
Absolutely, absolutely. So here's the thing. I don't know if hopefully you guys can see my board up here. Might be easier for me to write some stuff down. Right. So you have POMC and melanin stimulating hormone. Right. Right. Hopefully you guys can see that in the right direction. Can you guys see that? Or does it look backwards?
No, yes, we can see it. It's
clear. Yeah.
I have it blown up.
Okay, because on my screen it looks backwards. All right, cool. All right, so and then on the counter side, you have melanin concentrating hormone. Right? So these are hormones in the brain, right? Now these are separate, right? But these are hormones that counterbalance one another. So these are separate from melanin, right? Then you have the target for these hormones, right? The target for these hormones is melanocytes, right? These are the cell types, melanocytes. Inside melanocytes, you have the enzymes called melanosomes that produce the pigment melanin, right? So that's all one whole family. That's the body of the system. Now over here, what you have is something different. You have the pineal, right? You have the pineal, which converts serotonin to melatonin, right? So all of these guys are related, but all different, right? So this right here, melanin concentrating hormone, is the hormone that regulates hunger and sleep and all of those different things. Melanin stimulating hormone is the hormone that tells melanocytes to actively produce more melanin, right? But this guy over here is the energy hormone, right? So this is producing the pigment that processes, translates, and transduces energy. And this is for the body to produce more energy or more substrate to be converted to energy. Serotonin is what your body does with, your body makes serotonin out of tryptophan. Tryptophan is a aromatic amino acid, right? Your body uses serotonin to keep you, like that's your awake, your awake hormone, et cetera, kind of similar to dopamine, but not exactly, right? And at night, when your body, or just maybe not at night, but when you've used up a whole bunch of energy, and now you have, your mitochondria is not able to recycle the ATP as fast, right? The adenosine is also a vasodilator. So as that builds up, it signals the pineal gland to convert serotonin into melatonin. And melatonin is also a powerful antioxidant that protects the cells, et cetera. So
Okay. The other question is, what role do miscegenation, race mixing, play in the melanin concentration hormone, mixed racing and things of this nature? Because some people say the darker you are, the more melanin you have. And the absence of melanin creates albinoism. I'm asking you, I know that when black people have sex with white people, the baby come out dark. But when white people have sex, on the father's side or whatever, but the white people cannot produce melanin. Some theory about that. But my question is again, does that play a role? Miscegenation play a role in your ability to produce any of the melanin?
right. So what happens is everybody has about the same amount of melanocytes, whether you're white, dark as me, it doesn't matter, right? The difference maker is how much melanin stimulating hormone your body produces, right? So this fluctuates between racial groups, and then how active your melanosomes are fluctuates, right? And then if we take it a step further, I guess I got to start erasing some stuff, right? If we take it a step further, what I'll do to make some space. What I'll do to make some space is we'll just abbreviate. We'll just abbreviate and we'll do C and MSH. And on this side, we'll just do MCH. So that way, up top, we can do, there are two types of eumelanin. And two types of pheomelanin. Right? So there are different types of melanin, right? So there is a more opaque type of melanin. Then there's another type of melanin that our really light skin folks have. Then you have two types of eumelanin, which one of them is brown skin folks, and then there's another type of melanin where our dark skin folks have. So you have two different types of eumelanin and two different types of pheomelanin.
So you're saying albinoism is
No, albinoism is different. Albinoism is not, white folks are not albinos, right? So albinoism is a disease where the skin is absent. You're not getting any melanin there at all. So that could be related to the TYR gene itself, right? The genes that are related to producing pigment. Then there are people with vitiligo, where they're having an autoimmune reaction to certain, areas in the body, and so they're losing pigment in that space.
okay.
But that would be different. That would be different than like albinoism, and just having somebody that's mixed would be different.
I'll question white folks having melanin later, but my other question is, how does melanin concentration hormone help people with type 2 diabetes? What is the process? I know you said diet and sleep and fasting and things of this nature will reproduce the concentrated melanin. But how does it work to lower? And is there a way you can get it from a homeopathic or herbal help boost your concentrated melanin? But the first question is, how does it affect remedies or contain or lower the challenges for people with type 2? And the other one is, can it be reproduced?
Right. So the thing is you produce it naturally. You produce it naturally, but and there's really no and maybe this could be a big factor in why it's not discussed, because there's no way to market it. There's not a pill to sell it. There's not a herb to sell it. It's just natural processing, getting into the rhythm of not overfilling your body, allowing your body time to, you got 24 hours in a day. We really shouldn't be consuming food more than that 8 hours at the maximum, right? You need at least 8 of your hours a day to eat, another 8 hours a day to just allow your body space to digest and extract as much nutrients as it can from what you ate. And then, you kind of want to leave the last 8 hours for your body to get rid of all of the waste products, right? So if we allow our body to have, at least 8 hours, 12 hours where we're not eating, right? That will raise our levels of MCH, melanin concentrating hormone. And as the levels of melanin concentrating hormone are raised, your autophagy levels will be raised, your ability for your muscle cells to be resensitized to insulin. Your body will produce more AMPK. AMPK is another molecule in the body, if you will, that tells your body to metabolize fats. And in the same way as autophagy kind of kicks in and primarily focuses in on getting rid of proteins, AMPK tells your body to get rid of fats. So those are the things we need to do. And then making sure that we spend a good bit of time each day exercising our legs. Right. So you can't really sell these things. So it's not a financial, but our legs have our largest muscle groups. Right. So the point of metabolism for your sugar is your muscles, your skeletal muscles. So because most of us sit down for most of the day, we cut the circulation to our largest muscle groups, which would be the largest, places where the sugar is being metabolized. So we make it ritual, to get in our 5,000, 10,000 steps a day. It's a part of our habits to just make sure we do a 10-minute walk after a meal. Just get that little walk in. It's not a jogging, you're not trying to, sprint, but just a little walk. If you got a dog, I tell people all the time, a dog is better than a treadmill, right? Because you got to walk your dog. The dog will remind you to constantly get that little exercise in that you need to make sure that you're stimulating those hormones. Every exercise, every movement is not just metabolizing sugar or fats, but it stimulates a whole set of chemical responses, biochemistry and neurochemistry. And if we're not moving, that just doesn't happen.
Okay.
Right.
I'm gonna let other people ask questions. Thanks. You did a great job in answering my questions. Thank you. Go ahead,
Yes.
Right. Okay, let's go to Brother Mashinda.
Hey, good evening.
Peace to God.
Yeah, you giving us a lot of information, brother. Yeah, I was just taking it in and writing it down. Um, you know, is it? So let me ask you this. I'm gonna ask you ask you a question. Today is Wednesday. I want to know Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. What have you eaten?
Okay. That's a hell of a question. It's pretty much the same. I'm trying to think if there's any variation. I think Monday, I didn't have a smoothie earlier. I had some tea. Yeah, I had a big cup of tea.
What kind of tea and what kind of smoothies you?
So I have a book. It's called Kitchen Chemistry. And in the book, Kitchen Chemistry, it's on Amazon. in the kitchen chemistry book, I got a zillion different recipes. But Monday specifically, I think I had oyster mushrooms, white mushrooms, oyster mushrooms, white mushrooms. That's what I've been having lately. Oyster mushrooms, white mushrooms, mung bean sprouts, broccoli sprouts, red apples, bananas, a little bit of red onions, and then I have a specific blend of sea moss on my website called Blue Magic. We put some Blue Magic in there, you know, but that's my mix that I've been on lately. So oyster, mushrooms, white mushrooms, mung bean sprouts, broccoli sprouts, some apples and bananas for sugar, and then the red onion adds some more sweetness to it. So yeah, I had that, but the tea was what is this? I got some. I actually have some right here. It was I got it on sale. Like I'm a big on sale kind of guy. You know, we balling on a budget. But I think it was it's a turmeric and ginger, a turmeric and ginger tea. But I usually don't. I usually do either or, right? So if I do the smoothie, because usually I have big cups, right? So like this is full with smoothie right now. This is my teacup from earlier. And these are both 32 ounces. So I'm, you know, and then just one meal. We had mushrooms, black beans, red lentils, brown rice. That was pretty much it. Mushrooms.
Do you drink a lot of water?
I do drink a lot of water, relatively, sure. Yeah.
Is there like a specific kind of water, like a pH water, spring water,
No. That's
groundwater? Huh?
no, not necessarily groundwater. You know, with the water, this is what matters with water. I'm glad you asked that question. So here's the big problem, right? 90% of America is fiber deficient. Fiber deficient, right? And so we don't realize how many different directions we're being hustled from. Like, there's like the fact that we're a sick society, right? So 60% of Americans have one chronic disease that they're taking medication for. 20% of Americans have an undiagnosed chronic disease that they don't know they should be taking something for. So that's 80% of our society is sick. The 20% of our society that's not sick is largely the children. So damn near the whole adult population has stuff going on, right? And one of the things that pharmaceutical companies and insurance companies take advantage of, like insurance companies are really nasty with this. They can predict people's death date with a high level of specificity, right? And they do that by using, you know, when they get your blood tests, you know, they get an idea of what your genetic code is. And then when they get your location, your race, what your diet is, and you know, they already know that there's a list of about 10 or 11 basic nutrients that Americans in general are deficient on. And in the Black community, we are worse, right? And the number one largest nutrient deficiency we have in America is fiber. 90% of American, 93% to be exact, some crazy number of Americans are deficient in fiber, right? And so you might be saying to yourself, okay, brother, but I'm asking you about water. The thing is, here's where the hustle comes in. Fiber is what allows your body to hydrate itself. People that know biochemistry, they know this. So what I'm saying to you is, they're just hustling people by telling you, okay, well, you know, you need artesian water. No, you need well water. No, you need alkaline water. No, you need, you know, to put it in a triple distilled, you know, it's so many different types of water because people are dehydrated. But the reason people are dehydrated has nothing to do with the types of water that they're getting. All that's just money, right? I mean, obviously, the best type of water is going to be some type of natural water, right? So spring water, artesian water, something to that effect, right? But the reason people are dehydrated is because they don't have fiber. Fiber controls how your body hydrates itself. So if you're deficient on fiber, it doesn't matter what type of water you drink. That water is running through your system, right out into the toilet, and you just had you a $5 bathroom. You know what I'm saying? You just peed that Fiji or alkaline place. You know, you got these little water places with selling alkaline water from the old Keynesian machines or whatever. Like, none of that is the solution. All of that's just a money pit for people to pour their money into. None of that's the solution. In fact, your body doesn't even want to be alkaline in the first place. Like, that whole thing is a myth. You know, your blood is at 7.365, right? And the easiest way to remember that, right? This is how smooth and easy nature works, right? We have 7 days in a week, 365 days in a year. That's how tied in with nature we are. Your blood pH is supposed to be at 7.365. Easiest way to remember that. That's the perfect mnemonic device. 7.365. The acid alkaline scale goes from 0 to 14. Anything above 7, you're going into alkaline. Anything below 7, you're moving into acid. So the fact that your blood wants to be just a teensy bit above 7 means that the whole idea of alkalinity is, you know, it's overblown. It's biochemistry that people don't really get, you know what I'm saying, without having a deeper conversation. It really has more to do with your kidneys than the rest of your body, right? Because when you eat food, if you think about it, it doesn't matter what it is you eat. You can have a kale salad or you can have a bag of Doritos. When you eat them, it's going to go into your stomach. And what is your stomach going to do? Your stomach is going to turn all of that into acid. That's how your stomach digests it. Then the next stop, when it gets to the duodenum, your pancreas from the alpha cells is going to load up your duodenum and alkalize whatever you have there to the level at least that, you know, now your small intestine and, you know, the large intestine, your microbiome and all that stuff can continue on. But that's the regular process. Acid, then alkaline. That's what your pancreas does. 95% of your pancreas's job is producing alkalizing digestive enzymes. Only 3 to 5% of your pancreas produces insulin. So a lot of people, they think that the pancreas is all about insulin. It's not. The major job of your pancreas is producing digestive enzymes. You know what I'm saying? So the main thing people need to focus in on is getting fiber and not buying fiber from the store, right? Because when you buy, what what is that, Metamucil and all those things, your microbiome can't break that down. Right. So the beauty of fiber is this. So let me just explain this about fiber. This is how beautiful and how genius and efficient and magnificent and just all those types of adjectives ad infinitum that God's work. This is how God does things. Right. So because our body is made up largely of two types of cells, right? You have your cells, right? Your human cells. And then you have the bacterial cells. The bacterial cells that are inside your body and on your body, right? And you have more of those than even your own cells, right? So the beauty of natural food, plants, is made to feed both communities. Meaning, when you eat plant food, right, there's a portion of that plant food that your body can digest, right? So that's for your cells. The portion that your body cannot digest is called fiber. The fiber is actually for the bacterial cells to digest. So it's a perfect harmony. Your body gets nourished, the bacteria get nourished. When the bacteria get nourished, the bacteria produce other secondary and tertiary products that your body needs. Vitamins, you forget about it. There's all kinds of things that your body needs. It comes from the microbiome. But if the microbiome aren't getting fed fiber, right? But they will mislead people and sell people prebiotics. Prebiotics is just a slick word for fiber. It's packaged fiber. That's all prebiotics. People are buying prebiotics. Now, prebiotics different than probiotics. Probiotics are the actual bacteria. Prebiotics is what they tell you you need to buy to feed the probiotics. But really, it's just a matter of eating the plants. Just a matter of eating the plants, the natural food.
Dr. Enqi, is watermelon good for you?
Watermelon is amazing for you. Everybody asks me that. I was on another platform and the brother,
I'm eating some. I'm eating some. That's why I'm eating a good one.
yeah, watermelon is amazing, right?
Yeah.
Watermelon has a good deal of pigment, right? It has a good deal of fiber. It comes with the water and the fiber, right? If you eat the seeds are nutritious, right? The rind, not the hard part of the rind, but just below the sweet part where it starts to get a little sour or bitter. That's also healthy for you. It's loaded with arginine and citrulline, and arginine and citrulline is what your body converts into nitric oxide for blood flow, right? And so, this the watermelon, the whole entire watermelon is amazing, but we can't eat watermelons all year round. But yeah, it would be good if we could. Like watermelon is, if I was stuck on an island, my children ask me questions like this. So we kind of had this little thing like that. So if you had to get stuck on an island with only one food, what would it be? And sometimes my answer is watermelon. Sometimes my answer is coconut. But watermelon is definitely one of my favorites.
All right. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. Brother Ahi, he came in a little later.
Well, I'm just thankful, brother.
You have a
Just
question?
thankful to be here. No, just thankful to just in this short amount of time picked up some valuable information. Knowing people that are have diabetes, and maybe can start a conversation with them now about that process of the melanin and concentrated hormone.
Man, Yeah, in any kind of way people can, you know, toss it around and start to looking it up and just get more interested in, you know, figuring it out and, you know, just get more involved. It's a good, you know, and get people, get people more, excited to exercise and get in healthy fats, right? Because your body produces or stimulates melanin concentrating hormone by omega-3s. So omega-3s, you know, we get in a good amount of omega-3s and that helps, right? People exploit the melanin concentrating hormone pathway, you know, with cannabinoids, right? And that leads them to cupcakes and cookies and snacks and all kinds of other craziness.
Tell us what you mean by cannabinoids.
Well, that's where literally where the munchies come from. So cannabinoids stimulate your brain to produce melanin concentrated hormone. So that's why people get the munchies. But cannabinoids, so like if you consume cannabis, marijuana, weed, THC products, whether you're eating them, drinking them, smoking them, those are considered to be exogenous sources of cannabinoids. So people will talk about the fact that you have, you know, CB1, CB2 receptors. You have a cannabinoid system in your body. But the cannabinoid system is not for, you know, weed per se. The cannabinoid system is in your body as a system to quiet inflammation. And that system is regulated by omega-3 and magnesium. So if you have adequate levels of magnesium, adequate levels of omega-3s, your body will be producing the cannabinoids you need to keep your inflammation low and to keep your appetite running. And as long as you keep your appetite running, your body will be chewing up stuff, you know, and then, you know, when we get more deeper, I guess, into the conversation, we can talk about the effect of high levels of cholesterol with high levels of blood sugar and how the two come together. And so the cholesterol actually gets glycated just like your red blood cells. And then that cholesterol that gets glycated, that's the reason why it's hard to convert it, right? So we have a principle called Enqi's first law of metabolism. And that's basically where we begin to see these things in our bodies as substrates. In chemistry, a substrate is something that you're gonna create a reaction with and change it into something else. And that's the way we need to see our body, because that's what these things are. You know, glucose is not something that is supposed to be floating around in our body at all. The purpose of glucose is for us to break glucose down, get the carbon back out of our body, and utilize the energy to recycle ATP. That's the whole idea of glucose. Glucose is never supposed to be building up in the blood in the first place. Cholesterol. Cholesterol is never supposed to build up in the blood. And it's not about this story about, you know, HDL versus LDL. That's not a real thing, right? We've heard that story for decades and it hasn't done anything. People are getting cardiovascular disease, still the #1 killer, right? The way we need to look at cholesterol in a healthy way is we need to understand that cholesterol is the precursor. It's a substrate. Cholesterol needs to be converted into testosterone. Cholesterol needs to be converted into estrogen. Cholesterol needs to be converted into progesterone. Cholesterol needs to be converted into DHEA. Cholesterol needs to be converted into vitamin D. And so the problem with cholesterol is that we're not converting it into the substrates. So not only is the cholesterol level going up, but if you have high cholesterol, that means you have low something else, because cholesterol is supposed to become something else. So if you have high cholesterol, you may have low vitamin D because your cholesterol is not being converted at the right speed. If you have high cholesterol, you may have low levels of testosterone because the testosterone is not, cholesterol is not being converted to testosterone, right? So, or estrogen levels, right? Your estrogen levels may be off. And if your estrogen levels are off, your body may try to, who knows? You may have extra aromatase building up in your body to try to convert testosterone over into estrogen to make up for the difference in the balancing act, and all kinds of crazy stuff can go on because we're not converting the cholesterol fast enough into all of these different substrates. And primarily that's because, obviously we're not doing the basic things we're supposed to do. Society has structured itself, in a kind of like anti-sunshine way, right? So we only get UVB, right? It's not sunlight, right? And this is just specifically speaking of vitamin D, for instance, right? Sunlight is not what creates vitamin D, right? It is a specific part of sunlight called UVB, ultraviolet light, right? Ultraviolet light converts or starts the process to converting cholesterol. Hold on. They are losing their minds with fireworks already. But so UVB light is what starts the process to converting cholesterol into, pre-vitamin D, and then that pre-vitamin D needs to be circulated to either the kidneys or the liver to be fully converted into one of the major forms of vitamin D. Because vitamin D is actually a group of hormones. It's not just one form. Like, it's not just, oh, this is vitamin D3. It doesn't work like that. You got different types. Your kidney produces one active type of vitamin D. Your liver produces another type of active vitamin D. And there was a time period where scientists thought these were all, different forms of pre-vitamin D on the way in the conversion state. But as studies have continued, all of these different metabolites, starting with the pre-vitamin D from, the cholesterol absorbing the sun, until you get the more finished products from the liver and the kidney, they all have different beneficial jobs that they perform in the body. So that's just one thing, with cholesterol. And because we only get UVB between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m., most people are going to be deficient, right? So vitamin D is the second nutrient that most people are deficient in, especially Black people, because Black people need 10 to 20 times the amount of sunlight as white people do. The only UVB that cholesterol can use is the UVB that escapes our melanin, because our melanin is going to grab up, a lot of the sunlight that comes through. So because white folks are less densely pigmented than we are, they can go out and in 15 or 20 minutes, you know, in the midday sunlight, they can produce all the vitamin D they need for 2 or 3 days. Us, on the other hand, we're going to need 2 hours. And then if we are overweight, we're going to need more time in the sun. So depending on how much fat your body's carrying, you may need to be out there even longer. You may need to be out there 3, 4 hours. And then there's a point where if you're really dark and really overweight, it's not possible for you to absorb enough sunlight to convert your cholesterol. So you're going to have high cholesterol and low vitamin D. So now you'll have all the problems associated with high cholesterol and the cardiovascular risk, and you'll have all of the problems associated with vitamin D. And the number 1 and number 2 problems associated with low levels of vitamin D is that your body won't be able to properly metabolize calcium, and your body won't be able to properly metabolize iron. So if your body can't properly metabolize calcium, then that means your bone and your muscles won't be able to function, you know, optimally, because they both rely on calcium, right? Your heart relies on calcium. If you can't properly metabolize iron, we know that's going to be blood issues, right? And how your body handles that is, if you have an iron problem, you're going to always feel like you have low energy. If your body always feels like you have low energy, your body is always going to be telling you to eat, 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 eat. So this is how some people that are overweight get into a cycle where it seems like no matter what they do, they can't lose the weight, because you have one group of people telling them, oh, this is a hormone thing, you know, your thyroid, your leptin, and, you know, this is hormones. And they start giving folks medication and stuff like that. And some, I think about 20 to 30% of people respond to the medication, but largely more than half of the people, they don't respond to the medication. So obviously that's not the issue, right? And then you have people who try to address it with diet and exercise and stuff like that, and it doesn't work. So they just kind of run out of solutions, and they wind up feeling depressed, and, you know, but it's really they're stuck in this loop where, because they're not getting, you know, one nutrient upstream, you know, it's leading to downstream, you know, issues with their energy metabolism. And if your body is not able to get the energy, it's going to keep telling you to eat, and it's going to keep craving the worst type of food, because the worst type of food is the most simplest sugars. Simple sugars metabolize the fastest. And when your body is starving for energy, that's what your body wants. It doesn't want a complex carb. It doesn't want a starch. It doesn't want, you know, anything that it has to work for to get to the energy. Your body's craving energy. It wants that now. So your body wants something sweet and simple where it can get to. And so people wind up eating a bunch of junk food, and, you know, just, this is a nasty treadmill effect. But it just starts with simple, basic nutrient deficiencies that, yeah, that could be addressed.
All right. Now, I want to get to Sophia, because I saved her for last, because she's the person that's responsible for Dr. Enqi being here. And I want to let her sum everything up, and then we'll have some final words from Dr. Enqi, and we'll call it an evening. We'll take our pause after that. So, Sophia, question,
Wow.
comment?
Yeah, that was just wow, that was amazing. I really enjoyed all that info. And you know, today you were linking this to obesity, and ironically I was looking at this article called a crosswalk between melanin concentrating hormone and endocrine factors implications for obesity in the International Journal of Molecular Science, where they actually do, this is a recent study, so 2022 was, when it was published, and it from Haukeland University Hospital, Norway, with, different doctors, and Spain as well, University of Santiago in Spain as well. And they do mention the fact that, melanin concentrating hormone is the most metabolically relevant in the study. And then they also talked about some of the amino acids. And today, I know, Dr. Enqi, you did an incredible show over 3.5 hours talking about proteins and amino acids. And in this study, it also talks about how melanin concentrating hormone comprises of 19 amino acid peptides with a cysteine bridge, and molecular features that give melanin concentrating hormone a cyclic structure essential for its biological activities. But anyways, the whole point is, through the work that you do, Dr. Enqi, and linking a lot of these things with all these scientific studies, which you also have in your books, it's just it's information that I believe a lot of people, if they knew what was in these books that you provide for us, that you have provided for us, it would be like headline news. You have the level of research. Excuse me?
I was saying it should be. I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah, it's incredible the level of research that you have in your books, and the fact that you as one individual have gone to this length of providing the public, this type of research, and by yourself. It's just unheard of. It's just beyond genius. So I'm just connecting the dots with what you were talking about regarding melanin concentrating hormone, the fact that it's a very important hormone that people need to learn about and understand, because it is the main, it affects so many aspects of our biology and our metabolism and how we metabolize energy. Like here in the study, it's just the most metabolically relevant is what they're saying in this particular study, and there are a lot of other studies on it. And it's hard also to find these types of information, like on YouTube. If you go to YouTube, it's going to be hard to find this type of info. You're not going to find it. But here it's saying the most metabolically relevant, rather. So my point is, getting to the root cause of problems is key to solving any problem. And this is what you are doing, Dr. Enqi. And I'll give you one other example. Like when you study, if you go to the universities or go through some of these schools, they talked about how you're supposed to clean your blood and you focus on your bone marrow so that you can reverse diseases. But Dr. Enqi came out with the idea that you can prevent your blood from getting dirty by activating certain enzymes. And he has that in the recent book that he just put out. So, and just so many other breakthroughs. Let me see what I did with that book. But anyhow, it's the latest book that you just came out with. The title, if you have the title there, it's the Food List book. Talks about those enzymes, and the details you have in those books as well, and as to how much you need, what it is that you need, and why you need what you're getting, and it's current. So I just want to say that for one individual to be able to accomplish what you have accomplished in less than a year, it's just beyond genius. And, you know, you don't have to believe in the Bible, but Hosea chapter 4, verse 6, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge when they ignore the knowledge. And this is an opportunity for any of people that are sick or are crying out for help, because also our emotions are affected, you know, from what we're eating or what we're not eating. And here is a doctor who's giving us solutions, real solutions to the, you know, root cause of the problems that affect our society, because whether it is health, violence, you know, people would just be moody, all those things are affected, you know, by what we are consuming or not consuming. So, but, and it's so, doctors are phenomenal, and I'm so happy that you work with, you know, regular medical doctors as well. But the level of detailed information you have provided us, like the parts per million for some of these plants, and the I mean, it's just unheard of, because a lot of people will not share this type of info. They would not want to share this kind of info. So anyhow, I just want to say thank you, and it's your birthday week. I want to say happy belated birthday. I love the books that you have put out on Amazon with Dr. Enqi Real on Amazon, and also the products that you have. I've been enjoying it. My left eye is now 20/20 from AmericanHealer.website. My left eye right now is like 20/20.
Miss Sophia.
And
Miss Sophia.
Yes.
We up against the clock, and I want to get Dr. Enqi Real.
Of course.
I appreciate you helping me getting him, and hopefully we can do this again sometime soon. So let me get to Dr. Enqi. Dr. Enqi, last words.
Oh, I was just going to say, because she sparked something with what she was saying, and I know you have this book, right?
Of course, right here.
Well, not you, Sister Sophia, but Professor Amin-Ra asked a question, and he was asking about differences between white folks and black folks. And so I know that Ra also has this book, because this was the book you told him to get.
I have that book, yes.
Right. So if you go to page 490 in the book, right? If you flip open real quick to page 490, you have it there right next to you?
Yes, I have it.
Okay. Go to page. Are you guys in like the same space?
No.
Can you with him? Oh, okay. I thought you guys might have been in the same city or close to each other, because that article right there really gets into some of the differences between, you know, black folks and white folks, so to speak, in terms of mitochondria function, and why it is that our bodies store fat differently, process fat differently, process sugar differently, and why we have a higher predisposition to certain diseases. And, you know, it elucidates on the concepts in a way where most people, if you start to have that conversation, they will dismiss you as a militant. You know, like, oh, well, that's that militant pro-black. No. This is science. We have to be able to put the taboos at the door and have a scientific conversation, because we know that particular illnesses affect different races, creeds, and colors differently. And so when you have scientific journals begin to address certain aspects of the science, like the difference between mitochondria in phenotypes and ethnicities and races, you know, it really is enlightening in terms of what type of actions that we need to take, et cetera, et cetera. So page 490 is like, yeah, that's a really good article to pull that kind of information from it and share with your people.
Yeah, I'm gonna share that with Professor Ra.
But outside of that, yeah, just thanks for the platform. Sister Sophia was talking about the name of the book is called Kitchen Chemistry, and at the bottom of the book, it is like a subtitle. It's called The Grocery Shopping List. Because in the book, what I'm doing is describing the medicinal qualities that foods have and why you need to put these on your grocery shopping list. So when you go to the supermarket, you can take the book with you and literally buy the food that's on there, but you will understand why you're buying it. Because what most people don't get is that 95% of drugs are synthesized from plants. And a lot of these plants we could just eat, but we're not. It's like we're stuck in this loop where we're avoiding the plants that have the healthy components to it, and we're eating the crazy stuff. And then when we come down with stuff, we go to the doctor, and the doctors are literally selling us synthetic versions of the food that we could have ate in the first place to keep our health going, and we wouldn't have needed the drugs or the surgeries in the first place, because we would be getting the original sources on these things, right? So it's just that simple. And we actually go through, make a grocery shopping list of the things, give some recipes, because my personal cheat code, which is the reason why I laughed earlier when brother asked me what I eat, is my personal cheat code is I try to, eat as much as possible, like out of the blender, liquid meals. So even when somebody asks me, what am I putting in my blender? What I put in my blender might seem strange, because John Q. Public, they making a smoothie. It's like, oh, I had watermelon, mango, apples, berries, a whole bunch of fruit. And, and that's good to start that way, to get used to working your blender. You know what I'm saying? But as you get more comfortable, you want to start to add like more vegetables, more greens. You can even put beans in there, and just, get a lot more articulate with what you put in your blender. And that's like a cheat code, because I find personally, I could get my children to drink things that I can't get them to eat by masking it with some other sweet stuff. You know what I'm saying? So if I put some mangoes or some apples or some bananas in there, add some sugar to it, that may overpower or at least neutralize the bitter taste of a lot of things that they may not have wanted to eat, right? And so by doing that, we can get all our nutrients in. And then if we want to eat some ratchet, some crazy stuff, we already took care of what we're supposed to have for the day. So if we want to, venture out into some crazy stuff, we can do that too, to create some balance. But that's the key thing, what I'm saying? Just finding little cheat codes and ways to get stuff in like that. So the grocery shopping list book, aka the kitchen chemistry book, is really good. For beginners, people that's just trying to figure some stuff out, that's a really good entry book. It's got the shopping list in there, and none of the stuff that's on the shopping list is like, well, I ain't gonna say none of the stuff, but like 99% of the stuff is stuff that's in every supermarket. It's not like you're gonna have to go to Whole Foods and spend $7 on a bag of grapes, or like organic this and that and the other and crazy. Like, it's all balling on a budget. You know what I'm saying? So these are not going to be crazy expensive items that you got to find at from the top of the Kilimanjaro mountain, or some old crazy goji berry, acai berry foolishness. You know what I'm saying? These are things that are in your supermarket that you can utilize right now to start like dramatically turning your health around.
All right. Well, we up against this clock. We have tutoring coming on. So Dr. Enqi, excellent information. Appreciate you coming on, sharing it with us, and hopefully you come back. Sister Sophia, thanks for bringing him on, and we want to keep this connection going. I want to thank Professor Amin Ra, Brother Mashinda, and Brother Ahi for attending this evening. Next week on the show, we have Tim Tyson, and the topic is the untold truth about retirement / your home. So looking forward to that. And Professor Rob, we have anybody next week on Tuesday? You're on mute.
I got to focus on the struggle right now because, how Black people going to vote in the next election. Second, the genocide that's still going on in the Middle East and in Gaza, and America's role in that genocide. And also, we got to deal with the challenges, the money that they're paying for Uncle Tom. I said this back in the 70s, there's big money for Thomas. Every Tom has always been promoted and got big cash. And Clarence Thomas is a good example of that. And so we need to deal with that so that other young people don't take a bite of the forbidden fruit. So I'm going to be discussing those issues, specifically what's going on in Gaza and the whole Middle East aspect, as well as the challenges we face as Black people here in America with reparations. So we're going to cover those 4 topics, and hopefully everybody will tune in.
Okay, that sounds excellent, Professor Rob. Dr. Enqi could always visit if you see a topic you're interested in, and come and join us.
And Rashaki, we also going to deal with what's going on in Kenya. The rebellions and things of this nature of the people against the taxation, and how America welcomed their president, and now that people throwing rocks at him. So we need to deal with that. Okay. We're worldly people anyway. Wherever Black people is a battle line. That's what Malcolm said. And if you don't see Africans as your brothers and sisters, well, we got to teach you and educate you that they are your, as Dr. would say tonight, we all part of that melanin concentration hormone. We share that together, and we're genetically connected as well as ethnic connected. All right.
All right. Thanks a lot, Professor Rob. Well, I'm going to say we're going to take our pause. Each one teach one in Conscious Corner. Everybody have a beautiful evening.
Yes, sir.